Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name's Eliza and today I would like to share my autumn TBR with you. Here in Sydney it's actually still quite hot, but a few days ago was my favourite kind of weather. Crisp and cool enough to wear a jacket outside and a little bit windy. Chef's kiss. I've compiled a hopeful list. It's a loose pile of suggestions based on what's currently taking my fancy and my interest. A pile of possibilities, if you will. Since being part of BookTube and watching BookTube, I definitely get inspired by seeing what other people are reading based on the weather and what's going on in nature. Comment down below what you're reading and if you think the seasons affect your mood. I'd also love to know if you're in the northern hemisphere or southern, so if it's spring or autumn for you right now, so leave a spring flower or some autumn leaves so I can know where you are and what's happening where you are. Let's start with some sci-fi. I would really love to finish the Wild Robot series. I've read the first book, the second book, and now I have the third book ready to go. There's another book I really want to read before this though, which will be next. I finished this second one last night. So the series follows a friendly and curious robot called Roz, who ends up stranded on an island full of animals. She learns how to survive on the island by disguising herself to fit in with the scenery and also observing and imitating how the animals survive and communicate. And she learns the language of the animals and then they slowly develop these connections. It's so funny in the first book when she disguises herself to match in with her surroundings so she can observe the animals to work out how the island works. And I thought that was so Peter Mellark coded that she just like covered herself in leaves and blended in and could just observe what was happening. It was really funny. It makes me laugh a lot. This series is very wholesome. It's middle grade, so it's aimed at sort of pre-teens. This was great for me when I wasn't sure what to read and was in a bit of a reading slump. I laughed so much and was also very invested. There were scenes where things were happening and I was like, no, I don't want it to be that way. It has some really great messages both for kids and adults alike, as well as contemplating life and what it means to be alive, and is Roz the robot truly alive or not? If she wasn't born and because she's not made of flesh and bone, does that mean that she doesn't have feelings? What's her purpose? Yeah. It's really good. The movie The Wild Robot came out I think last year and I really want to watch it, but I believe it follows all three books in one, so I want to know what happens before I watch it. And I really wanted to finish the second book in that series so I could move on to Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy. There was already another prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, about President Snow when he was a young man. And this follows Hamish Abernathy when he was in his games. As a teen, I was obsessed with the Hunger Games. I've reread it a couple of times. When The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes came out, I heard really mixed reviews. I wasn't sure if I wanted to read it, but I trust Suzanne because it was really thought-provoking and I feel like she only writes something when she has a point to make. I feel like her books are not just empty cash grabs. I pre-ordered this and I'm so excited it's here now because I can start reading it. I haven't started it. That will all be documented in a vlog that will be coming out soon. I don't want to rush reading this, but I am very keen to find out what's going on. Speaking of dystopians, banned books. Really want to read some banned books. Australia is not having the same problem as the US right now with banned books, but all the same, I really wanted to get my hands on a copy of 1984 by George Orwell. I went to Dymocks with my friend Laura and we both picked up a copy. They had like 11 different editions or something crazy. I've been meaning to read this for ages, and one of the reasons I didn't is because I didn't have an edition that I wanted, and I wanted to invest in an edition that I liked. I do think that the the type in this is quite small, so I'm a bit concerned for my old eyeballs, but there is space for annotating in the margins. Laura and I talked about doing a buddy read for this so we can discuss as we go, which I think would be really fun. I haven't done that with a friend, I think, for ages, if ever. It would be really interesting to annotate and compare notes, and with the current everything that's going on and books being banned, ironic, it's a sign of fascism. Another dystopian kind of banned book that I'm interested in, or banned series that I'm interested in, is The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler, which I've heard fantastic things about, and it's set in 2024 and 25. It centers on the collapse of society as a result of the climate crisis, corporate greed, and mass poverty. Need I say more? More books that I've been intending to read for ages that I do have, so I'm just throwing them out there in case I do, in case I pick them up, but no wuzzers if it's not this year, are Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier and Wuthering Heights by, oh gosh, which Bronte is it? Emily. Oops. From what I know of these classics, they both have a dark, emotive, Gothic atmosphere and a strong sense of place with the setting of the moors and the grand, kind of almost haunted house. They're here for when I want them. Now onto some escapism via atmospheric fantasy. I really want to be a fantasy kid again. I was obsessed with Narnia, Harry Potter, mythological animals, different mythologies, all of those kind of real fantasy, magic stories when I was a kid. And I'd really love for my imagination to be swept away again with magic, with a magical gripping story that I get really invested in. So some books that might fit the bill that I have on hand are Belladonna by Adeline Grace, which I picked up recently. It cost me $11 because I had racked up enough points or whatever with Dimmicks that I had a discount, so that was very exciting. All I really know is that it's kind of gothic and features a connection / relationship possibly between the main character and death itself, or death himself. Nice. Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. I read a T. Kingfisher, my first one, last year, and I liked the sense of atmosphere, and the characters were really clean cut and clear. I think it's a quest kind of story. I know there's a demonic chicken or something weird, so it sounds funny. House of Hollow, another kind of haunted house style story. Don't know many details. I kind of like not knowing too much going in. I just kind of like knowing the vibe and whether I think it will gel with me or not when it comes to anything, most things. This one, speaking of, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Hey, it matches my hair. Ooh. I've been told that Piranesi is best if you go in knowing as little as possible. One of the strengths of Piranesi that people talk about is the sense of place, and that there's this kind of looming mystery, and I believe there's some kind of twist at the end, and that's one of the reasons why people say go in not knowing much, because you don't want it to be given away. So I've tried to avoid spoilery reviews or reviews that go too deep about this as well, because yeah, I just want to be surprised. I want it to be a surprise. Next, onto some dark academia. Autumn makes me think of the idyllic scene of leaves wafting across sweeping college campuses, with students sporting their tan leather satchels filled to the brim with books, hurriedly making their way to their next class on ancient Greek philosophy and language, shortly before murdering one of their classmates. Oh wait, that's just The Secret History. And like The Secret History, I'm in the mood for something dark and sinister, with some sort of academic setting, with maybe a touch of magic or murder. I picked up a mystery book recently from Dimmicks. It turned out to be Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I didn't realize that it was a series with 5 books that's possibly meant to be more. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I'm not a super big series reader or I haven't been for a long time. Again, the less you know about a mystery going into it, the better. I'm interested to know how I will feel about this because it is young adult. A lot of these, to be fair, like the fantasies are young adult. 10 years ago or more, I can't remember, I read a book of short stories. There were 3, I think. The book had a short story by Maureen Johnson, and it was my least favorite. And so whenever I've seen her stuff, I'm kind of like, not for me. And that's how I felt about her writing when I was like 20. So now that I'm older and hopefully wiser, I'm wondering what I will think of this. But I do love a mystery to solve, so that's one. Oh my gosh, I've had these Violent Delights by Micah Never Ever on my to-read list in here forever. A few years ago, I put this on hold at the library, and it was 3 months that I was number 1 in the queue for 3 months. I think the person who borrowed it probably just lost it or something. So I bought it going, I'll read it. I didn't. Spoiler alert. It's about 2 boys, again, at a college or school. They become kind of obsessed with each other in an obsession is unhealthy. So unhealthily obsessed with each other. I don't know how things end up. This next one has a super autumnal setting. It is My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. This is beautiful. Lots of trigger warnings for this. I mean, that could be said for any book. You're responsible for checking. This one has a lot, so check. Beautiful writing. Very disturbing. I've read it before. I would definitely read it again. It follows the story of a woman who remembers her time in college when she was groomed by a professor. It has that intertextuality because it refers a lot to Lolita, which is a book that the predatory professor gives to her to form a connection. It's her coming to terms with how those events have really impacted her life long term. It follows the present and then flicks back to that part in the past. I don't really want to say more than that because if you're going to read it, I think it's best to follow the journey as it unfolds. Would really recommend. I'm really sad that something gross was on my bookshelf and kind of ruined the spine. But I don't care. I will read it again, whether it's now or another time. Now, you get to be here for an actual... I was going to say unboxing. It's not in a box. Unwrapping. I got this the other day. It's another blind date with a book. This time from Elizabeth Books in Newtown, where I went with my friend Jess. They had literal stacks of these. So on the front, it says, an artist, a poet, a diverse art school. Quote, boys just being boys. A crime he didn't commit. Spellbinding lyricism. And it is young adult. Ooh. I'm hoping it's a book I don't have. Should have brought scissors. Oh no. I just ripped it open with my brute strength. Can you see can you see that? It's going to have some kind of illustrations. What is this? Ooh. I don't know if I've ever, no, maybe I have heard of this. Okay. None of the books I thought of, and because I know dark academia can come across as real white, and not every book actually talks about that and critiques that. So this one is Punching the Air by Ibi Zaboy and Yusuf Salam. That's really exciting. Samal Shahid has always been an artist and a poet, but even in his diverse art school, okay, they literally took like what's on the blurb. Because of a biased system, he's seen as disruptive and unmotivated. Then one fateful night, an altercation, in a gentrifying neighborhood escalates into tragedy. Boys just being boys turns out to be true only when those boys are white. Suddenly, at just 16 years old, Amal is convicted of a crime he didn't commit and sent to prison. Despair and rage almost sink him until he turns to the refuge of his words, his art. This never should have been his story, but can he change it? A moving and deeply profound story about how one boy is able to maintain his humanity and fight for the truth in a system designed to strip him of both. This sounds really good. I'm glad it was something unexpected. Oh, and it's got, yes, I was right. Oh, it's got like, is this all written in poetry? Ooh, that'll be really quick to read too, probably. Ooh, okay, that's exciting. Yay. Cool, I feel good. On a lighter note, if I get into I don't know what to read, or I need a palette cleanser or something, if you guys have followed me and watched my other videos, you might know that I love mysteries. So I could dip into something like and Agatha Christie. These ones I also got from Elizabeth Books in Newtown, and just like, look how vibey they are. One of them is The Mirror Cracked Side to Side, which I do remember watching the BBC Miss Marple episode with this, but I can't remember who done it and why done it and how done it. I just remember something done it. The other one is Death Comes as the End, which I don't know if I've heard of at all. Ooh, this one's actually set in ancient Egypt. It's not just like they go to Egypt in the 1920s and 30s or whatever. This one's set way back when. And I've actually thought, how cool would it be to read murder mysteries that are set in ancient times? So I'm interested in that, yes. I also do have the 5th Shady Hollow book called Summer's End on my Kindle, which I might pick up. I know I said before I haven't read and committed to many series, but that one I actually have. Each of them are basically standalone, but if you read them in order, I think it's very enjoyable. Shady Hollow is a series that follows Vera the Vixen, who is a fox who solves mysteries in her quaint town full of animals and woodland friends. It very much fits into the cozy mystery, cozy fantasy genre. I just love the characters. They're just hilarious and super lovable. And as I said, this one is called Summer's End, which is totally appropriate for this time of the year because it still feels like summer, but it's coming to an end. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more bookish content. As I said, I'll be vlogging my experience of reading Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, so stay tuned for that if you're also a Hunger Games fan. Don't forget to comment what you're reading and a leaf or a flower, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.